My name is Barbara Bissonnette, and I am the principal of Forward Motion Coaching. And the topic of this presentation is how to choose the right job or career when you have Asperger's syndrome. Forward Motion Coaching is my private practice, and since 2006, I have specialized in career development coaching for adults with Asperger's syndrome and similar autism spectrum profiles, as well as individuals with nonverbal learning disorder. I also offer consultations for parents and training for professionals. So here are my 5 tips for choosing the right job or career. Tip number 1 is to realize that college is not the only path to success, and earning a degree does not guarantee that a person is going to find employment. So you want to really consider all of the options. And there's a very interesting video on YouTube called Success in the New Economy that explains the 127 phenomena. What this means is that for every job that requires a master's degree, there are 2 jobs that require a bachelor's and 7 jobs that require an associate's or a certificate or certification. And Harvard University predicts that in 2018, almost 60% of jobs are going to be in the category of skilled technical, meaning that they do not require a bachelor's. Tip number 2 is to be very careful about making decisions based only on interest, because having an interest in a particular topic does not necessarily mean that a person will be able to actually manage the jobs that are available in that field. So take your time, do some careful research into occupation, and in particular focus on the primary tasks for the job, the skills that an individual needs in order to perform those tasks, and you might even consider how competitive a certain field is. Third tip is to consider your abilities from an employer's perspective, because once you are hired and getting paid to do a job, it's expected that you are going to be able to meet the employer's performance standards. So if I'm working with someone who says they write well, we then look at whether that individual can write on a deadline, if they are able to follow employers' guidelines for things like style, length, even content and topics. The 4th tip is to think about the work environment that will be most conducive to your success. And I think environment can sometimes be even more important than job tasks. Now, there are a lot of things to think about when it comes to work environment, but I want to call out a few that I think are particularly critical to know about yourself or your son or daughter. And the first one is, do you need to be told exactly what to do and how? If the answer to that is yes, it suggests that you need a lot of structure in a job. And that is something that is actually pretty common among individuals on the autism spectrum. You also can think about your comfort level around other people. For example, would you be able to manage a job if you had to interact with strangers for most of the day? All right, then there are some of the performance questions. Can you manage a really fast pace, or having very tight deadlines, or even a lot of multitasking in a job? And for some people, there may be sensory processing difficulties that are going to make some work settings completely unsuitable. And then finally, tip number 5 is to understand how Asperger's syndrome impacts you. And I think it's very important for every human being to have an awareness of the challenges so that they can make vocational choices that are going to emphasize all the things that are strengths, not the things that are really difficult. Now, it's certainly true that sometimes people have challenges that can be mitigated. For example, if they develop certain skills, request accommodations in the workplace, or maybe utilize assistive technology. But then you also want to look at what are the challenges that you really can't do much about. So someone who has poor working memory is going to have a lot of difficulty in a job where there are lots of interruptions. Someone with a slow information processing speed is probably not going to be successful at a job where you need to make a lot of quick decisions. So those are my 5 tips. I also want to invite you to visit my website, forwardmotion.info, where you can download free guides about various employment topics, subscribe to the Asperger's and NLD career letter, and learn more about coaching and parent consultations.